भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे पुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तन्न विदुः सुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः।
Gurubhyo Namaha. We are still on the verse number 16 and 17, and I have taken a little detour trying to understand the subtle aspects of this karma, or the action or the activity, because we know that everything in the relative is all activity. Whether these actions or the karma is coming from mind or speech or behavior or breath, and the enormous karma coming from both the Jnanendriyas and Karmendriyas. Here the mind is also involved. So we see that innumerable are the actions, innumerable are the actions and the activities that govern this human life. We have also understood that being or the self is the source of all these activities. It is only with the contact of the source and remaining in connection with the being and gaining the support of the self, that all actions can be performed properly, aligned to dharma, evolutionary, leading one to freedom. We have learnt a lot about self and non-self in the Sankhya Yoga, but this morning when I woke up, I was really wondering if it was necessary to speak about the being, to review it briefly again. Because until one has the self-experience, the experience of the self-realization, then this being is not clearly understood and it cannot be fathomed. And this is why one needs this, continuous input, continuously be able to gain this knowledge. But it is also good, this intellectual knowledge is good, because then you know what are the milestones that you have to cross and how you need to make use of your time and have the choices to get to the goal. So today I will just speak briefly about the being, and the essence of this is taken, most of the essence is taken from Maharshi's Science of Being and Art of Living. So let me read the verses again, verses 16 and 17. What is action? What inaction? Even the wise are bewildered here. I shall expound to you that action, following which you will be freed from evil. And Bhagavan continues, action indeed should be understood. Wrong action should also be understood, and inaction should be understood as well. Unfathomable is the course of action. So here the word action in Sanskrit is karma. Here we begin with the being, the self, as the unmanifested reality. It is the ultimate reality of all that was, is, and will be. It is eternal and unbounded. It is the basis of all the phenomenal existence of the cosmic life. It is the source of all time, space, and causation. It is the be-all and end-all of existence, and it is the all-pervading eternal field of the Almighty creative intelligence. And it is proclaimed as, I am that eternal being, thou art that, and all this is that eternal being in its essential nature. Now, the experience of the self shows us clearly that being is bliss consciousness, and the essential nature of being is again absolute bliss consciousness. It is the source of thinking and all existing creation. Maharshi says, without the knowledge of the fundamental of life, absolute bliss consciousness, life is like building without foundation. All of the relative life without the conscious basis of being is like a ship without a rudder, ever at the mercy of the tossing sea. It is like a dry leaf on the ground, left to mercy of the wind, drifting aimlessly in any direction the wind takes it, because it has no roots to anchor it. And finally, he says, life of the individual without the realization of being is baseless, meaningless, and fruitless. Besides, being is the living presence of God, the reality of life. It is eternal truth. It is the absolute in eternal freedom. Now again, the glory of this being as the ultimate reality can be fathomed and known by direct experience. The Upanishads bring out being as the ultimate reality, which is imperishable and eternal. We have seen that in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan sings the glory of the imperishable self being the ultimate reality, also referred to as Brahman, which is the supreme ultimate absolute. So, this being as the ultimate is of transcendental nature, and that is why the field of being is not concrete. It has always been said to be abstract. But the experience of the self is much more concrete, and it is more concrete than any concreteness of relative life, because it has been seen in its abstract nature. The study of being has until recently been considered to be mystical in nature, and having considered it to be mystical in nature, then a certain tendency was created which became responsible for depriving the common man for hundreds of generations in the past of the great advantage of this experience of being. So again, for hundreds of generations, people stopped exploring within themselves and finding out about their true nature, because just thinking it is mystical and it is of abstract nature. Now we have a systematic way established to directly experience the transcendental ultimate being. So with this systematic way of directly experiencing the transcendental ultimate being, the being not only steps out of the mystical field into the daylight of modern science, but also provides a rescue and refuge against the fear of annihilation that is promoted by man's increasing knowledge in the various sciences. Now we have heard so many people here and there in every religion and regions about sporadic people being enlightened. But it is only here in this Vedic tradition that this systematic way, a systematic path for enlightenment has been established by the rishis. And so many infinite number of people have been enlightened in this land, in all these yugas. And as we have seen again and again, the knowledge gets lost. And when Maharshi Ji again started bringing out the transcendental meditation and bringing this knowledge in a systematic way, and the practice of this in a systematic way, so that one could explore within oneself and have the direct experience of the self. So much of India and the Indians have been outward. They lost this inward connection. People have become more ritual oriented and reaching out to the Almighty and searching for God on the outside. This concept of going within and experiencing the finer and finer and subtler fields of yourself, and ultimately knowing the self has been forgotten and even neglected. Even now, as I see across, there is more of the outside journey and outward rituals than the inner journey. And this is because many think this is very difficult, it cannot be achieved in one life, and it is impossible. And again they still think it is mystical and mythological and so on and so forth. So now again, this is a good time for everybody to connect to this knowledge. It doesn't matter what age, what culture or tradition or what country. It is important to know who they are, what is their source, and to be connected with the source and live the whole of the life very happily with great success and full potential. Now, yesterday we were talking about the delicate link of prana, which is connecting the never-changing field of eternal being with the ever-changing phases of relative life. So we'll go into that later. Before that, I would like to bring a few more points quickly about the being. We should understand that being is the essential constituent of creation, and that it is present in every stratum of creation. It is present in all forms, words, smells, tastes, objects of touch, in all the objects of experience, in all the senses of perception and organs of action, in every phenomena, in the doer and the work done, in all directions, north, south, east and west, in all times, past, present and future, it is uniformly present. And also it is present in front of man, it is present behind him, to the left and right of him, above him, below him, in him, everywhere and under all circumstances. So it is the essential constituent of creation, and it permeates everything, and it is omnipresent. And this is the omnipresent God. When we speak about God, this is how He is described. He or Jagannatha is described. Now, if we have to express it in the form of consciousness, then the whole of creation is the field of consciousness in different forms and phenomena. So here, consciousness is the radiation from the center of pure being. So here, the pure being is like a inexhaustible battery, and bliss consciousness radiates, and as it proceeds further from its source, this consciousness pervades and appears in all subtle and gross forms of life. Here it is said that whose hearts and minds are not cultured, whose vision concentrates only on the gross, and who can only see the surface value of life, they only find qualities of matter and energy, and they do not find the innocent, ever-present, omnipresent being. Its presence is soft, and the softness of its presence is beyond any relative degree of softness. And this being is the essential basic nature of the mind, but since it commonly remains in tune with the senses, projecting outwards towards the manifested realms of creation, the mind misses and fails to appreciate its own essential nature. And here the example given is, just as the eyes are unable to see themselves, everything but the eyes themselves can be seen through the eyes. And similarly, everything is based on the essential nature of the mind, omnipresent being, and yet, while the mind is engaged in the projected field of manifested diversity, it is not, the mind cannot appreciate the being. Now we have already begun to understand that life starts with breathing and thinking, and we have begun to look at how unmanifested transcendental being manifests itself in the form of prana and mind, which is the level of thinking and breathing. So here the start of activity is from the level of thinking, and the start of thinking is at the level of transcendental being. So now we find being at the basis of all activity, all behavior, and the variety of ways and forms of living. Now we see so many tendencies and so many states of likes and dislikes, which are the modes of mind. And once we have fathomed the basis of mind and prana, it will be easy to establish being as the basis of all living. And once we understand this and we start experiencing it, then it is possible to glorify all fields of life and living by consciously infusing the nature of being into all the different fields of activity and behavior. Here, behavior is also activity, it's a karma, because mind is involved. So now, having understood that being is the ultimate reality of existence and also the essential constituent of creation, now we can say being has two sides to its essential nature. One is the absolute and the other is relative. So this being, it remains forever in its omnipresent absolute status, and then it is found to be in the ever-changing phases of phenomenal existence. And this is how the relative creation starts. So, this one eternal, unmanifested, absolute being manifests itself in many forms of lives and existence in creation. Let us now take a few minutes to understand about this cosmic law and then the natural laws or the Prakriti Dharma. Unless until we understand this Dharma, this cosmic law and the natural laws clearly, then we would not know how to really perform these karmas all aligned to this nature. Now here, a law means a rule of procedure. This we understand. And for us in Sanskrit it is the dharma. So this cosmic law means the rule of procedure of cosmic life that rules, that governs the purpose of cosmic existence and evolution. It further means it is the rule, the cosmic law, the procedure of cosmic creative intelligence which creates, maintains and dissolves the universe. And here the word cosmic means all inclusive. It means it actually includes the whole and entire universe. So when we say cosmic, then the whole of the nature in its static state of existence or in its dynamic state of life is included. Now, when we look at the universe, there is a continuous progression of life. Life seems to be in a progressive mode. Something is created, it grows, it develops to its fullest extent, and at last begins to decay. Then it decays and becomes transformed again. And so we see this constantly changing pattern, and we understand it is the change of life pattern, a change of the state that sustains evolution. So one thing is that it is forever changing, something is changing. Then besides, there is also maintenance. Life maintains itself and evolves at the same time. And so this aspect of maintenance is one of stability. The aspect of evolution is one of change, and the aspect of maintenance is one of stability. So when we think of cosmic law, then these two factors have to be there, the factor of stability and the factor of change in the universe. And we see that these are found simultaneously. So again, we see something is created, it is maintained, and while it is maintained, it evolves, it reaches the height of evolution, then dissolves. So we commonly call this the Srishti, Sthiti and Laya. And so this cycle of creation, maintenance, evolution and dissolution continues, and in its continuity, the life of the universe goes on. Now, this one stream of law, which never changes, gives rise to other laws which transform the quality of this plane to that plane, transform life in all its phases. Now, this cosmic law is that absolute state of pure consciousness which knows no change. But it is the basis of all laws of nature, and it maintains the status quo of the different strata of creation, and at the same time evolves them into higher ones in conformity with the cosmic purpose of creation and evolution, and further maintains the stream of evolution. So again, the maintenance and evolution of creation is carried out by the different laws of creation, but the basis of all these laws is the eternal cosmic law at the plane of the being, and this is the basis of all creation. And so here we have this cosmic law, this one law which never changes and which never allows absolute being to change. So the absolute being remains absolute being throughout, although it is found in changed qualities here and there in all the different strata through the innumerable laws that have come out of it. So again, there are innumerable laws which are responsible for all the changes in creation. And they all come from this cosmic law. The cosmic law is such that it never changes, and even while it never changes, it keeps on bringing forth newer and newer laws at different strata of nature. And because of these different laws, the different states of creation, the different forms and different phenomena keep happening, and then they are all in the stream of evolution, where you see the creation, the maintenance, the evolution, the dissolution, and finally the liberation. So this we call it as dharma, this cosmic law is the dharma, or you can say swadharma, and then you have all the prakriti dharma, so many of these laws coming out as the natural laws. This is the prakriti dharma, and we also saw this as paradharma because these are coming out of these are mixed with the gunas. Again, it is the power of this cosmic law that maintains the eternal being in the absolute state and at the same time maintains the ever-changing phenomenal creation of diversity in the relative state. The oneness of unity of life of absolute being and the diversity of the multiple creation are both maintained in their proper status of never changing and ever changing states. And finally, this is the mysterious and all-powerful nature of the cosmic law that has its eternal status in the plane of being. And now let us see, where does this cosmic law function? It functions from the level in between the absolute and the relative planes of life. We can say it is at the junction of the absolute and the relative planes of life. And functioning from this level, it harmonizes the unmanifested eternal being and the manifested field of diverse relative existence. Now you have a more clear understanding of this dharma and then the many prakriti dharma that come out of it manifold, which also we can say swadharma and then the paradharma. And then this is why Bhagavan Krishna continuously insists that you be in swadharma, don't be disconnected from the source, and being established in this swadharma, then you continue to fulfill all the other prakriti dharmas, all the other individual dharmas that one needs to fulfill. That means you perform all the other actions, but being always connected to this swadharma and through that to the source, which is the being itself. Now this brings us an understanding of this complexity of this dharma, but its orderliness, its perfection in trying to keep this creation, maintenance, evolution, dissolution and liberation all in a systematic way, and to allow this creation to continue and to continue and to continue. Now tomorrow we will explore about the prana and then the breath and also the mind again together, how they bring this connection of the never-changing field of eternal being with the ever-changing phases of relative life and become the basis of all the activities in the relative field. So I will end here. Jai Gurudev, Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu.
तं देव